Have the United States and Europe called Vladimir Putin's bluff? The Russian president may have sent his troops into Crimea, but his first remarks on the standoff in Ukraine were remarkably conciliatory. He told reporters in Moscow there was no need for the use of force yet, and that everything was under control without a shot being fired. Mr. Putin's remarks followed threats from the West of economic sanctions, which provoked a plunge on the Moscow Stock Exchange. Maria Lipman of the Carnegie Moscow Centre was watching his news conference. Maria Lipman, thanks for your time. No need to send in troops yet. Does that suggest that Vladimir Putin may indeed be satisfied with effective control of the Crimean Peninsula and not order military force in other parts of Ukraine?
Well, I would be cautious in drawing conclusions whether he's satisfied or not, but this is certainly a very important statement, and this means at least Putin is not moving beyond the Crimea. Russian armed forces will not move into Ukraine beyond the Crimean Peninsula, and that's very important. What is also important was that the general tone of the Russian president was softer and more conciliatory than the tone of all kinds of officials during the days when he stayed away from the public stage.
Why do you think that is? Does that suggest that the threats of economic sanctions from the West and other actions, penalties against Russia, have been sufficient to suggest to President Putin that this is as far as he can go?
Well, again, this is purely speculative. We can't suggest anything, but the Russian economy is already suffering. The Russian stock exchange has fallen. The Russian currency, the ruble, has fallen. It seemed that indeed the determination of the Western nation, Europe, and the United States to take action, whatever this action is, looked graver and graver by the hour. So, which certainly would further affect negatively the Russian economy. Maybe that played a role. Maybe something else. We do not know. He certainly did not say that.
Has the situation been made a little bit more difficult strategically for Vladimir Putin by the fact that the Ukrainian military have acted with more subtlety than, say, did their counterparts in Georgia a few years ago, that they have not fired a shot and therefore there's nothing for the Russian military to retaliate against?
Yes, indeed. Whereas the Russian officialdom of different levels was arguing in an extremely angry and aggressive fashion that the whole rationale for Russian action in the Crimea and for the decision to intervene was the need to protect Russian speakers or Russian compatriots or ethnic Russians. It was put in different fashions. There was actually no evidence that any such category of people in Ukraine was jeopardized. And indeed, the Ukrainian military did not fall for multiple provocations. They did not shoot, they did not show resistance. They were in many of the military units of Ukrainian army in the Crimean Peninsula were encircled and blocked by Russian troops, but they would not show resistance.
Ukraine is, of course, heavily dependent on supplies of gas from Russia for its energy, but the conciliatory tone of Vladimir Putin extended to that as well, really, did it not?
Well, Ukraine is certainly dependent, but Russia cannot cut off supplies to Ukraine because that would affect Europe as well, because Ukraine is not just the buyer of energy, it is also a transit country. But Russia has a strong leverage as regards to the price of gas. Russia offered a discount on the price to President Yanukovych early on, actually several months back, and this was his compensation for not signing an association agreement with Europe. But now it seems that Russia stands ready to actually cancel the discount. Ukrainian economy is in shambles. It was in a really desperate situation even before the crisis began back in November, but of course it is in much more dramatic situation right now. This cancellation of the discount is certainly a very strong leverage and an instrument of pressure.
There has been an upsurge in nationalism, especially on Russian television in recent days. Do you think, however, that President Putin will be able to sell this situation at present, control of the Crimea, as a victory to the Russian people?
Well, I think there is a chance of that. The brainwashing by of the Russian national television networks, all of which are tightly controlled by the government as far as politically sensitive issues are concerned, has been generally very effective. And because the role of Russia was by no means shown as aggressive, just the opposite. The line was that Russia is the protector. Russia is trying to save ours. Then maybe the line can be now we have effectively protected, we have shown that we stand ready, we're a peaceful nation, we are not using force, but we stand ready to protect and to interfere at any moment. This is what President Putin said today, actually, that he can and he said that he has the legal right to use force in Ukraine should there be a need for that. And this is based, this is what he said, on the request from President Yanukovych. This is something that emerged yesterday in the UN Security Council, that there is a letter from President Yanukovych asking the Russian government to bring in troops, to bring peace and quiet to Ukraine. He can probably sell it to the Russian people, but I think more important questions will be what the world community will think about all this. If this is indeed the end of the hottest phase of this crisis, how does Vladimir Putin come across? And what the relations will be between Russia and Western nations, and what Putin's elites would think about him, because they saw this, maybe many of them saw this as Russia's readiness to use force.
Maria Lipman, thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.